Hi my loves, thanks for returning. As you know by the thumbnail, this video is going to be about using old and expired makeup. Are there any hard and fast rules in regards to this? Will we get that staph infection, that pink eye, if we use old and expired makeup? Are we going to get boils on our face, etc., etc.? So if you're interested in what's actually going on when you use that old makeup, then stay tuned. So during this video, I would like to refer to what the FDA says about using old makeup. I'm also going to refer to a case study that I read. I'm going to give my opinion. What would be a YouTube video without the YouTuber's opinion? I'm also going to refer to other articles that I've read. So I'm going to start off with shelf life. So shelf life just simply means the length of time you can expect a product to look as expected and to stay safe for use. So with that being said, there are a lot of variables that can affect the shelf life. If you double dip into a particular makeup, then that can affect the shelf life. For example, when you go in and out of your foundations that have the wands, that is double dipping because you take the wand out, touch it on your face, and you dip it back in. That is called double dipping. So that is one thing that can affect the shelf life. Also, being exposed to moisture. You probably have heard people say don't store your products in a bathroom, store it in a dark, cool place. Or if you have it stored in a bathroom, that just makes it easier for bacteria and fungus to grow. When you have products that are directly exposed to sunlight, that can affect the color, or it can also affect the texture. So you really want to be careful where you store your products. Also with the applicators, and the first one that comes to mind is mascara. You know, pretty much the hard and fast, well, I don't want to say hard and fast rule, but the one that comes to mind is between 3 to 6 months, you throw that eyeshadow out because so much bacteria is collecting on the wand, and you really want to be careful because mascara is so closely used next to your eyeball. And then the most important one is preservatives can stop doing their job. Once preservatives wear off and once they no longer work, then hello bacteria, hello fungus, you know, they're just having a happy little party in there. So I'm going to go into some of the products, the commonly used products, and kind of like a guideline to go by as far as the shelf life and some tips that you can use in reference to that. But before I get into that, I want to quickly say that the FDA doesn't regulate the shelf life or expiration date to be placed on your makeup. In fact, they leave it up to the cosmetic brand or companies to determine that. They leave it up to them to test their own products. However, if a particular makeup that you're using is considered a drug like acne treatment or makeup that uses sunscreen and things like that, the FDA does consider those to be drugs, so there is some type of regulation there. But everywhere else, it's not required. That explains why on a lot of products you don't see batch numbers to enter into the database to actually check if your makeup is expired or not, because it's not required by the FDA. So now I'm going to get into some guidelines that you can kind of go by to help you maneuver along in your makeup collection, how to handle it better. I do have my notes, so if you see me looking down, I'm actually reading my notes. I'll start off with foundation. So foundations typically have a shelf life of 6 months to a year, and basically you can help reduce the growth of bacteria by how you handle your foundation. Start off with clean hands and a clean face and a clean workstation. I really didn't see that in a lot of articles that I read, but that is like the most important. If you start off with a clean brush, face, hands, and a workstation, and you also handle your product properly, that is going to reduce the growth of bacteria by far. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, there was a study, I think the study was done by the FDA, and during that study, they stated that bacteria is already present in new makeup before it's even open. So that's not surprising to me because bacteria is everywhere. There's no escaping bacteria unless maybe in a sterile surgical environment. But bacteria is everywhere. Bacteria is airborne. It's in everything that we touch. So just wanted to, I meant to tell you all that in the beginning. But anyway, so back to tips on how you can handle your foundation. What you can do is you can put it on the back of your hand. Just gently tap it onto the back of your hand. Don't touch it up against your hand, but have it at a distance and let it drop onto your hand. Those are some tips that you can use to kind of help prevent bacteria in regards to your foundation. So the next one I want to talk about is lipstick. Typically lipstick has a shelf life of a year, and after that point, once you see it starts to change colors, textures, when it starts to smell, you want to toss that baby out. You can disinfect your lipsticks with alcohol. Sometimes I do that. However, that can sometimes dry your lipsticks out, the bullet lipsticks. So those are just some things that can help you prevent the growth of bacteria on your lipsticks. And of course, you don't want to share anything like that. And when you get into lip liners, they typically have a shelf life of a year or two. However, since they're constantly being sharpened and all of the bacteria kind of gets away like that, it's not that big of it's a big deal, but by you continually sharpening the item, that leaves you at less risk for harmful bacteria that are out there. I already touched on mascara. Mascara, you know, really 3 months. I would encourage you all to throw it out. Mascara is relatively inexpensive. I chuck mine at about that 3-month mark because I don't want to risk getting the heebie-jeebies in my eyes. And the same thing applies with eyeliners, with the felt tips and the brushes and things like that. You want to chuck those the same amount of time. Now, granted, some of those eyeliners can get pretty expensive. You know, that's just what the recommended guideline is. Once it stops performing correctly, or if you notice that it is spoiled, then I would keep it. I'm not going to say for you to keep it, but I do have some eyeliners that are older than 3 months and I still use it and nothing has happened to my eye, and I could be the exception to the rule. I don't know, but that's just kind of the guideline that they recommend people go by when it comes to those felt tip eyeliners and the eyeliners with the brush and things like that, the gel eyeliners. And then there's the powders. So you have the loose powders, you have the compact powders, you have blushes, you have eyeshadows. Those have a much longer shelf life and you can disinfect those. I disinfect mine, not the loose powders, but my eyeshadows. I have a bottle that sprays very, very fine, a fine mist, and I put 91% alcohol in that, and I hold it about a distance from here to here and I'll spray it. And that's how I disinfect my powders. Now there is a product out there called Beauty So Clean. If you don't want to use alcohol, you can purchase that. But alcohol is so much more cheaper than the Beauty So Clean. So it's up to you on what avenue you want to choose to disinfect your makeup. So I want to go ahead and share with you all a study that I actually found on the internet. I will leave it linked below. But the study is an investigation on the use of expired makeup and microbiological contamination of mascaras. So in the study, it investigated the habits of female students regarding makeup use and quantifies the microbiological contamination of mascaras worn by the population. So let me just skip all of the meat of it and just let me tell you all what the results were. So according to the results, 97.9% of participants reported they use or have previously used makeup after the expiration date, with mascara being the most frequently mentioned product. It was observed that on the sample collection date, 70% of the students had some type of expired makeup. The microbiological analysis of 40 mascara samples revealed presence of Staphylococcus aureus. Also, it revealed 13% of Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So Pseudomonas aeruginosa is a common rod-shaped bacterium that can cause disease in plants, animals, and humans. So the two of those bacteria that I just mentioned, they can cause major harm if left unchecked. Now, with that being said, I'm not trying to scare anyone. In fact, you read a lot of articles talking about this horrible bacteria that is found in the makeup. However, the FDA is not regulating anything unless it's considered a drug. And from my understanding, there hasn't been any major infections, or at least major enough for the FDA to make serious changes. I've had people comment on a couple of my videos saying that they have makeup products such as eyeshadows and things like that that are going into well into the 10 years old, and that they still use those makeup items. So this is just kind of a reference point just to let you know some guidelines that are out there, what the FDA actually says about these issues. What I mainly want you to take away from all of this is that be aware of how old your makeup is, be aware of how you're actually handling your makeup, and be aware of where you store it. And I also encourage you all to just actually go and check to see how old some of your makeup is, just to actually know. I did actually go to Check Fresh and check some of my products to see how old they actually were, and I totally gasped at the age of some of my products. Most of the products I could not find, and that's probably because, like I told you, the FDA doesn't require this to be printed. It's all in black and white. You can check on that link in my description box. But for example, I have a Revlon lipstick, and the shelf life states that it was manufactured back in 2011. So you can pretty much look on, like if you have a Revlon lipstick, if you look at the part that has the label of the lipstick and what color it is and things like that, you'll see a number that's etched in. Put that number into the Check Fresh website and it will give you the information on your product. For you MAC as well, if you look on the MAC products, it has something that is lightly printed, and it'll typically be a number, A31, A56, or whatever. You just kind of have to look at it, and it is there. You just kind of have to look. Perfumes expire too. I have this Gucci perfume, and the number, they have printed a number at the bottom as well, so you can check your perfumes. Okay, Boeing by Benefit, this concealer, you're actually able to check that on the Check Fresh website. This particular product will have the number embossed in it, so you can check that. Marc Jacobs is on their website as well. You can actually print it. See a long number printed, and it's going to be printed the same color as the label, but you kind of have to hold it in a certain light to actually be able to see that. But you can check Marc Jacobs. Smashbox. You can check Smashbox as well. They will have a number that's printed on the back. So these are just some of the items that I found. Like I said, not every company will actually give this information. So the list pretty much goes on and on. So I really do hope that this helps someone. I really just want folks to be careful and just be aware of what's going on with your makeup. Just like I get on my little tangents about the ingredients, knowing how they can affect you, I want you all to be aware of the bacteria that's actually growing in your products. So comment down below and let me know, have you ever had a type of eye infection from using old mascara or old eyeshadow? Did you get any type of cystic acne or boils from using old foundation? Let me know your experiences. Let me know if you haven't gotten anything and you did use old makeup. So I would encourage a conversation to actually come about in the comments below, just so people can be aware of what's going on. If you know of someone who has had a horrible experience using old makeup, please let us know in the comments below. So that's it. Thank you for tuning in, and until my next video, smooches.